Today, we are talking about lease signing, easily the most important moment in the entire rental process. Because once the lease is signed, the tenant is in. And if something goes wrong, you are the one who is going to be dealing with all the consequences, legally, financially, and emotionally.
Emotional damage.
We'll talk about what you should cover when you actually sign the lease with your new and approved tenant. Because once all signatures are on the lease, it becomes a legally binding contract. Hi, I'm Felix. I have signed quite a few leases in the past, and although they're basically templates of the same document, you'll be surprised how differently people interpret them. Obviously, it is on you to get the best and most updated version of the document, but let me go over some additional steps you want to consider while signing. Before the pen hits the paper, verify their ID one last time. Make sure that the people who signed the documents are actually the people named on that document. The ID is valid and not expired. You may also want to consider to make a copy of the ID, just in case. Walk the unit with them. Note if there are any issues or damages around the property. If there are any, make a note on move-in inspection checklist. This move-in inspection checklist should come with every lease agreement. Once you hand this move-in inspection checklist to them, make sure they have a deadline and they are aware of that deadline to fill it out and return back to you. Move in and move out checklists should be attached to every lease agreement. This is the list you'll be comparing to the move out inspection list after they move out of the property. Besides move in and move out checklists, lease copy needs to include exact amount of documents included in the agreement. Pet agreements, additional terms, security deposits, and any other attachments must be listed on the lease. Let me go over the ones that should be included in every lease. Late fees and due dates. Rent is due on the first of each month is not the same as rent is due sometime in the beginning of the month. Make sure you have clear payment instructions and ways to pay the lease. If there is a grace period, spell it out by what time and on which date and where the payment should be made. Because otherwise you'll be dealing with,
oh, I put the check in the mail on the 1st and I'm not sure why is it 15th of the month and you still don't have my rental payment yet. I sent it.
Please do explain to your future tenants who handles what around the property. Spelled out maintenance duties means fewer text messages like,
hey, can you come over and change my light bulb?
Everyone is different and you probably do not want to be a personal concierge service. Concierge. Make it clear that only the people who signed the lease are allowed to occupy the property. I did have a tenant once who decided to sublet the entire property to her extended family. Needless to say that the entire thing ended up in the eviction court, and the very first thing that the judge asked was about that clause. It did cost a lot of legal fees, which we are still trying to collect from that tenant. Signing day protocol. Protocol sounds so official. You want to go over each page of the lease and spell out everything that is included there. Make your future tenants initial every single page. Just remember another very good clause to have in the document is for tenants to have a written permission from management to do any changes around the property, besides the bulbs. Bulbs that they can do themselves, but just make sure they are aware of that. For each signing of the lease, you need to bring 2 identical copies, one for you and one for them. Once both copies are signed, you leave the management copy to yourself and the resident copy you give out to them. We also mentioned to our tenants that we keep the copy of the lease online for their reference. Walk them through every paragraph of the lease. Make sure they understand each one of these paragraphs. If they have questions, answer those questions, because if they don't understand it now, they may ignore it later. Security deposit and first months of rent need to be paid before you start signing the papers. Do not rely on their promises of later payment. Usually this is the sign that the lease is going to be trouble. If any of this is questioned before the signing, stop right there. Trust me, it'll save you thousands of dollars in legal fees or property damage. All tenants are responsible for rent. Make it clear that rent payment is an equal obligation of each person signing the lease. Last but not the least, you absolutely need to have a verifiable emergency contact on the lease. 2 is even better. Look, we all want to live a long and happy life, but things happen. And you want to be able to access the property in case the tenant does not respond for days or weeks on end. Lease signing isn't a formality. It is the moment when you legally let someone into your property in exchange for future payments or just promise of these. Once the contract is signed and you hand over the keys, the only leverage you have is the lease. So make sure the agreement is clear, complete, and enforceable. Cover all the bases, because if there is a loophole, you are risking to get it tested. And if things go south, it'll be up to courts and lawyers to decide who's right or wrong.
I'm done. You're gone.
Be thorough, be clear, and don't rush. This is the last moment of control you have. Use it wisely. Listen, good property managers are not the ones who never done mistakes. Those are the ones who learned from them and updated their future lease agreements accordingly. Thank you very much for sticking around to this point. I hope this video helps you to avoid those mistakes and makes your lease signing process smoother. If it did, hit like and share it with your business partners or fellow investors, and subscribe for more. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Papa. So right after we finished recording this video, I went on one of the landlords Facebook groups, and the very first message, not making this up. So my realtor found a tenant for me. They paid the deposit, first month's rent, blah blah blah. A 51-year-old applied, and the people who are at the apartment are men with tattoos all over their faces and no woman inside. I'm terrified. I'm wondering what to do. Well, you are in trouble. That is why you need to subscribe for our channel. Definitely get rid of your realtor.